Are you breathing, Kyle?
Yeah.
Now it's going to be a thing all day with me.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you stopped
No,
breathing.
you did it last year. So don't
Did I?
act. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I forget sometimes. Sometimes I will. Have you ever done this where you shoot a video off your phone and then you go back before you're going to post it and you sound like Darth Vader?
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that
Yeah.
quite a few times. So now it's a thing.
Yeah.
And that's the show. Thanks for joining us. Jim Rome is next. Welcome into the drive. We are live. I keep saying live from Mesa, Arizona. What's the alternative?
Like we're normally recorded.
Yeah, we're gonna be on tape from Mesa.
No, I think it's better to say we're live from Mesa, Arizona, rather than saying we're doing the show in Mesa.
Yeah, live from Mesa, Arizona sounds.
Yeah, like
fun.
They say live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
they
the
don't.
Same kind of deal.
They say live from New York. It's Saturday night, even though 2/3 of the country is seeing them on tape.
Right.
Which is kind of dumb. I always wanted Saturday Night Live. Just start it at, what would it be, 8:30 Pacific?
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah.
It's not Saturday Night Live. It's Saturday night pre-recorded.
Yeah.
The East Coast gets the live feed, so if somebody swears or whatever.
Okay. But if we say we're live in Mesa and then somebody listens on the podcast.
Not live anymore.
Not live anymore.
But it was live to tape.
Right.
Live to podcast, basically. And boy, was it a fun journey down here. Want to thank, first of all, Joe for coming down here with us. We've never had an engineer on site before for our blog. Our engineers have always been us.
Right.
So now
us with a phone calling the engineers.
The content may not be better, but the sound will certainly be better. For example, I have my fun little sound effects, which is fantastic for me and not for anyone else. Jay Mars is back in studio, helping us out there, doing the updates, as a matter of fact. Does that bother you at all, even a little? He's really good.
He's a really, honestly.
He has a really good voice.
Really strong voice.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he went, hey man, I really enjoy the updates. I want to do them all the time.
Yeah.
I would be 1,000% okay with that.
You really?
Yeah.
That's like a part of your corner of the store.
Eh.
There's a store. That's part of the corner.
Well, I'm happy to lend that.
Wow. Okay. No pressure. We're about 3 months away from it being Jay Mars and Friends in the morning anyways. We want to thank Jiffy Lube, of course, not only for sponsoring our video feed, which you should be able to see at khtk.com. And please keep in mind, this is not your normal video feed that we have back in the studio with all the fancy graphics and everything. I can't even believe Joe's gotten this going where we have a camera down here. It's somehow splicing in the sound and everything else, so you'll be able to not only listen to us like you have in the past, but for example, Bob Melvin's coming in at 8:40. You'll be able to see Bob talking to us, and right now you see, if you're watching on the stream, you see the beautiful field behind us, shrouded in black because it's nighttime right now. Still, the sun has not come up, but in about an hour, you'll see what is my favorite view of the entire year, which is the sun coming up over, I believe that's the Camelback Mountains or Saddleback or one of them, and it starts sun shining on the field. The field gets this glow, and it's all baseball-y and fantastic.
Make sure to follow the Sports 1140 Instagram page. We'll have pictures.
Videos too, I believe, right? You've been taking a lot of videos.
Yeah, I haven't been posting any of those.
Well, good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow.
But we'll have a little recap video after the trip.
From the 714 of the Jiffy Lube text. Jiffy Lube just owns everything now, and I'm fine with that. I'm so happy you guys are on. Taz and the Goose, I believe that's wrong. It's quite possibly the worst show on KHCK. They legitimately spent 35 minutes talking about J-Lo and A-Rod. Kyle, your thoughts? All right, so let's get to yesterday when we left. Went fairly smooth. We got on the flight. Everything was packed. Joe had like 700 pounds of equipment that he managed to put into 2 bags.
Can I back up real quick?
Please.
We got a parking spot on the first shot, which you said was going to set the tone for the whole trip, right?
We should go back even further. You had me pick you up at an alternate address. That was the first clue I knew something was going on.
Didn't want you knowing where I lived.
Apparently,
at all.
You had me. I don't even know where I picked you up at, but I picked you up. You parked there.
Yeah, the parking situation at where I live is weird. So it was behoove it behooved me.
Yeah,
to
you were behooving.
park outside. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how.
Okay, so I
why.
pick you up from alternate
Right.
place. We get to the airport. We all meet up. We get on the plane. Oh, yes. So this is going to make you and I look bad, but I don't care because either you're a good person and you don't do this, or I believe most of you are really bad people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest Air has open seating. So what Kyle and I do, and I do this with my wife too, and any other person I'm flying with. Yeah, exactly. Is so Kyle sat in the aisle. I'm a window seat guy. I sit in the window, and we have a seat in between us. So the trick is while the plane is loading, and I had checked about an hour prior, and there were still tickets available. So we knew the plane was not sold out. So what Kyle and I do is you pretend to, and those of you that do this know where I'm going. You either have a backpack or whatever you're carrying on the seat in between you, and you just pretend to rifle through it. Or in this case, Kyle would like have his phone out, and we were faking like an intense conversation where I'm like pointing at his phone, he's pointing back, and we're talking back and forth. And as you're doing it, you're playing this little lottery game of you're watching people come down the aisle. And the whole point is you don't want anybody sitting in between you.
No
right?
eye contact.
You no eye contact. You want an open seat in between. It's such a better flight when you have you can put your stuff on the seat in between you. You can pull down the trays.
Did you see the lady at the front of the plane? I think it was her son maybe in the aisle. She was in the window. And then they had like 2 bags, like seat belted in.
I didn't see
with
that.
the tray table down already. Just brutal.
But I wonder. But in that case, I would like to go back and wonder. I'll bet you they were saving the seat for like the dad or something, or somebody that didn't get the boarding the right way. And maybe not. Maybe they were just bad people.
Unlike you and I.
Unlike you and I. So it's like this lottery where you see the people come on. And then eventually they'll announce all passengers on board. Please lock the doors for cross-check takeoff. Right. So that comes over. That's like, oh my God,
with the static.
We're close. Yeah, I gave it the static. So we're super close, right? So we're down to one person in the aisle, and they pass us. And I almost said to you at that point, like, dude, like, you know, the Geico commercial where the car crashes and the squirrels do the high five and the fist pound and all that. Like, that's what I was about to do with you. Like, oh my God, we made it. There's maybe like 3 open middle seats. We're one of them. This is going to be a great flight. And then the lady, very nice. She was sweet. She did everything she could to be comfortable. But she goes down, and then the stewardess is like, oh, there's an open seat right here. And we see her come back, and you could tell she felt horrible. Like
she definitely.
She's
did.
like, "I'm sorry." And of course, at that point, you want to make her feel, no problem. Go ahead. You're just not allowed to have either armrest,
right?
At all.
I felt sorry for her because, like you said, she was very nice.
Very nice.
Except for when I finally fell asleep, and then she dropped her phone in my lap.
Yeah. Wait, you were asleep? Because I remember her dropping her phone.
Yeah, I was dead asleep.
Oh.
And then I feel something hit my leg and fall down. Well, I thought it was my phone or something.
Right.
So I immediately wake up because I'm not trying to dig around on the ground underneath people's seats to get my phone.
Of course not.
And I snap awake, and she goes, "Oh, sorry," and then reaches down and grabs it.
Did she? When she reached, did she?
No, it hit the floor.
Oh, okay. So that would be really awkward.
She just reaches across, like, this is mine now.
We almost made it, and then when you have somebody in the middle, and you're not tiny, and I'm not tiny, and nobody in that row was tiny. Let's just put it that way. And then
no small people.
There were no small people in that row. And, dude, I was so freaking cramped the whole time. Like, I couldn't get the tray all the way out, so I had my computer at, like, this awkward angle. And you and I went and bought literally $30 worth of snacks.
Which is 4 snacks at the airport.
Which is $4.99 for a bag of those combos, or what'd you get, Sour Patch Kids?
Yeah, they wanted $7 for just, like, the standard size bag of Sour
Dude. Yeah, and then they make you feel good because they're like, if you buy 2 at $4.99, you get $1 off. Well. Thank you for that. So we got that.
Also, that sign is super deceiving. It says 2 for $1 off.
Right. It's not 2 for $1. It's you get 2 for $10, but it's really $9. So we landed, came out here. we were here for a couple hours setting up because there was a couple of issues, but Joe was here to figure it out, and then found out that the Airbnb we're staying at is approximately 15 miles away from where we are.
And then we tried to get to the grocery store.
Yeah, we got
lost.
Yeah, last thing, we get to the grocery store and we spent the whole time freaking out because it was a Fry's grocery store, Frys, and the logo was exactly like Fry's Electronics. So we asked the cashier.
No, Dave says, you probably get this question all the time.
Turns out he didn't ever get that question.
Never gotten that question.
He probably thought we were all high. Then Kyle ends up Googling it, finds out that, yeah, once upon a time they were owned. What was the guy's name? Charles Fry?
Charles Fry.
Owned by the same people. Because, dude, the name tags were exactly the same.
Yeah, he owned Fry's Supermarkets.
Yes.
Gave a bunch of the money from that to his kids, and one of his kids opened up Fry's Electronics.
So there you go. Here's what we got today. We've got Bob Melvin. Is going to start off our A's week as we are, of course, live down here at Mesa, Arizona from Hohokam Park. He'll come on at about 8:40. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, including the Raiders' new acquisition. He can catch the ball. The Kings playing tonight. And I don't know. Do you know you can peel a pineapple? We'll get to that at some point. Something I found out over the weekend. It's the internet craze. That and milk.
Good to know.
Have you heard about milk Coke?
No.
Yeah. Well, we got a break. Okay, so enough, Kyle. You got to calm down. We have to go to break. When we come back, Morning Brew is next right here on the Drive. Sports 1140 KHTK.
Antonio Brown is set to be traded to the Oakland Raiders for a 3rd and 5th round pick.
The Raiders got the best receiver in football.
You know Julio Jones too?
He's better.
Okay.
No, he's better.
Okay.
Antonio Brown since 2010, most catches, most yards, most first downs.
Did you just turn Morning Brew into just fire off a hot take?
Yes. The only receiver since 2010 with more touchdown catches is, I just read this, so I'm not smart.
With more touchdown catches since 2010?
Yep.
No idea.
Rob Gronkowski.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
You said receiver.
Come on.
He's a tight end. He's not a receiver.
Fine. You know what? I'll let
pass
that go.
catcher.
We're in Arizona. $21.1 million in dead money for Pittsburgh. Listen, I made fun of the Raiders a little bit because it's like, well, let Khalil Mack go and pay Antonio Brown a ton of money. They fleeced the Steelers, I think, in this one. They really did.
Yeah, on the surface for sure. Take the contract out of it, making him the highest paid player in football. Like you're still going to get even 80% of Antonio Brown's or highest paid receiver.
I understand.
In
Yeah, I got you.
Even 80% of peak Antonio Brown as he ages is going to be the best receiver the Raiders have had in a really long time. So this is a good move for them. They give up a 3rd and a 5th. You weren't going to get 2 players as productive as Brown is probably going to be with those picks.
No.
And the bigger issue for me, because this is a huge win for the Raiders in my opinion, but the bigger issue for me is the Steelers have now run arguably the 2 best players in football at their positions out of town, and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Yep. And we need to get to that later.
There's I think a larger issue there that a lot of people are overlooking because it's the Steelers.
Sure.
Can you imagine if the Browns had done this?
We need to get to that because we need to talk about you're referring to how they structure their contracts.
Yes.
We also need to get to the fact that Antonio Brown also had guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and Le'Veon Bell to take pressure off of him. We need to make sure the Raiders don't have Antonio Brown quadruple teamed every time he goes out. Also, I want to talk to you about the Steelers because even though they're losing Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, they've lost. Well, they have James Conner and they have Smith-Schuster behind that too. So it's not like they don't have a plan. A lot of stuff to get to there. We'll talk about that at 6:35.
The Sacramento Kings are in Washington, D.C. to take on the Wizards.
I just want to let that sink in for a second.
All right, we're number 3.
Wizards tonight, 4 p.m. I believe is the tip-off for that one. Yeah, we'll get to this in a second, but those playoff hopes are dwindling fast. And through no fault of the Sacramento Kings. They got the win in New York. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Just a weird 9 a.m. start. You could tell they were still a little sleepy. If I was a betting man, I'll tell you the under in the first quarter is probably the easiest bet of the entire weekend. But they did come away with a victory. And, yeah, now they go into Washington. This is one of those times, if you're going to make the playoffs, you have to win this game.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this when talking about who the Kings are chasing. Is it the Clippers or the Spurs?
Yeah.
And a lot of people saying the Spurs aren't the same team. Well, hey, check this out. In their last 5 games, they beat the Pistons by 12. They beat the Thunder by 14. They beat the Nuggets by 1. They beat the Hawks by 7. They beat the Bucks by 7. Like they went on a tear because they're the Spurs. They weren't just going to fall off a cliff.
Spurs currently 4 games ahead of the Kings for the 8th spot. In case you're wondering, the Clippers, again, the Clippers and Spurs are tied at 38 and 29. But remember, the Clippers are effectively 5 games ahead of the Kings. The Kings would have to finish 1 game ahead of Los Angeles because the Clippers own the tiebreaker. So we'll get to more of that as well later. Number 3.
The Spurs won again, topping the Bucks 121-114.
This is a big blow to the Kings. It really is. This was a game when you look at the Spurs schedule and the Kings schedule, and everyone's out there trying to do math. This was a loss for the Spurs. This is a loss. Milwaukee's on the second game of a back-to-back, and they went in there and they just got beat. They got beat by San Antonio in a game San Antonio surely would have lost earlier this year, to your point about them going on a run. And you look at the Kings, we look ahead. They've still got a game against the Spurs, which may not even matter at this point. That game is the 3rd game in 4 nights. It's a Sunday night game, and it is the 2nd game of a back-to-back against Houston. You and I are going to talk a little bit later. It is way too early. But I want to look at that Kings-Houston game because I think Dave Yeager's got a very difficult position going into that game. 3rd and 4 nights against the Spurs, back-to-back. You got to wonder if Dave Yeager is going to be thinking about either sitting everybody. Well, you can't sit everybody, but you get my point, for the Houston game, or doing one of those, if we're behind after the first by, double digits, I'm going to sit everybody. The strategy going into that game will be very interesting, Kyle.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, and we'll, like you said, get into it later, will depend on kind of where the team is at going into that game, because really the Kings, the issue now is they're running out of games to deal with here.
Right.
And when you look at San Antonio's schedule coming up, they're at Dallas and then home against New York.
Yep.
With plenty of days off in between. There's no weird back-to-backs or anything in there, so let's chalk up 2 more wins for the Spurs.
Yep.
And like I said, at some point, the Kings are just running out of games to catch them.
We will talk about that later. Also, Antonio Brown, that's going to come up next. We'll talk about that trade, the effects on the Raiders and the Steelers. Kyle's thoughts on the way Steelers structure contracts. That might have something to do with everybody taking off. We are live from Mesa, Arizona, thanks to Jiffy Lube. Jiffy Lube, we've got you covered. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140 is your Firewings hotline. 44-1140, your Jiffy Lube text line. Back in a moment. Sports 1140 KHTK. A rejoiner, Kyle?
That'd be nice.
What's a good baseball rejoiner? How about this one?
You're welcome, Sacramento. The drive continues now.
Well, the sun's just starting to come up over Hohokam Park, Mesa, Arizona. Mountains in the background. You can check all of that out, unlike years past. That's because our engineer Joe is down here with us, who's done a beautiful job setting up a studio down here. We are in the, I believe, visiting broadcast booth for the visiting team. So I guess we're technically a visiting team. So you can log on to KHTK.com to the live stream powered by Jiffy Lube, who also powered this entire trip. We love Jiffy Lube, and they love us. At Jiffy Lube Sac on Twitter for all the latest deals. Jiffy Lube, they've got you covered. Firewings hotline is where you can communicate with us via voice at 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Firewings, 21 different flavors to choose from. Just wing it. And text us at 44-1140. Kyle, I'm very happy for the Raiders. And I'm very happy for Raider fans who have not had a lot of things to be happy about over the last couple years. Now, I don't necessarily think this is going to mean playoffs. Who the heck knows? But they got, in my opinion, and many others, the best receiver in the game. Is he still the best receiver? Is this the year he goes downhill? I don't know. But Antonio Brown for a 3rd and a 5th round pick and some money, pretty damn good deal for them.
Yeah, there's not a huge precedent. He'll turn 31 before the start of the season, and there's not a huge precedent of receivers continuing high levels of production into their 30s.
Not everyone's Larry Fitzgerald.
Right, but
Right.
the handful that are, it's like Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens.
Right.
I guess you could say Randy Moss. And Antonio Brown happens to be in that class. And so it's for me, for a 3rd and a 5th for the Raiders, it's worth the risk. And you had to make him the highest paid receiver in football, but if he's going to produce like it, it's a good investment. And you can argue the value of a good receiver, because when you look at like the top 5 or 10 receivers, not a lot of them have Super Bowl rings.
Right.
But they needed an upgrade on offense. They needed. I know Jordy Nelson, and I'm not sure I could name another Raiders receiver from last year. I think he was their leading receiver, but I'm not certain.
And he was, yeah, because what's his face? To your point, the tight end, Jared Cook,
right? Who's a free agent.
Who is a free
so
agent.
So they needed help badly. They needed a playmaker. They needed something exciting, especially after trading Khalil Mack. Like, they needed to go make a splash, and they gave up none of their 4 picks in the top 35.
What is the deal with the Steelers? You know, they say they're about to give Ben Roethlisberger a mega extension. He's at 37, so I don't know how mega that's going to be. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell gone. Antonio Brown gone. And, yeah, they have Juju Smith-Schuster, who won't even be 23 until next season.
Unbelievable.
You have James Conner, who's a great story, filling in for Le'Veon Bell last year. But they lost Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, who you can make an argument. It would be a tough argument, are the best wide receiver and best running back in the game.
Right.
That's weird, and that's probably not a coincidence.
I think a lot of it has to do with, if you look at what their GM, Kevin Colbert, said about Ben Roethlisberger, about how he is the leader in the locker room, and it's his team, and he has 52 kids, and all this other stuff about the like organizational worship of Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that other position players like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, who feel that they should, I guess, be in that conversation.
Sure.
It's understandable why they would I don't want to say because that's not they wanted to get paid.
Yeah.
And the Steelers, understandably, with Le'Veon Bell, big running back contracts don't typically work out well. Like already the Todd Gurley deal, which looked golden through most of last year. Now he has arthritis in his knee.
Yep.
Like, how's that going to affect him long term? And they've tied a bunch of money into him. So you understand that one. The Antonio Brown thing is not something that I think was solely financially driven. I think that's where the Ben Roethlisberger thing really comes into play.
Antonio Brown, the big winner in this whole thing, though.
Yes.
Antonio Brown forced his way out of Pittsburgh, and that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And I've kind of changed in baseball and basketball. I would have a serious problem with what Antonio Brown did. I would have a major problem with Antonio Brown, and I would be dragging him all morning. Mm-hmm. Football is a different rule. It's a different story for me because of the violent nature of the game combined with the way the contracts are structured and the lack of guaranteed money. Who was it that
he had $0 guaranteed dollars left on his deal in Pittsburgh?
Bill Barnwell, the excellent writer for ESPN, did a great article on this, breaking down Antonio Brown's contract and how Pittsburgh structured it, the lack of guaranteed money. The players in the league that actually had more guaranteed money than Antonio Brown, and I'm not talking DeAndre Hopkins, I'm talking wide receivers that you may not even be able to name that actually had, for example, one you can name, of course, is Sammy Watkins, whose contract
his is an albatross. That was a ridiculous deal he got.
Just destroyed what Antonio Brown got. Antonio Brown deserved more. As you say, he's 30 years old. He's not getting any younger. So I'm fine with it in this case. He forced his way out of there. He went to the Raiders. He may not be closer to a Super Bowl than he was with Pittsburgh, but he has taken care of himself, and I think he comes out a clear-cut winner in this deal.
Yeah, and it was the take that was funny to me was, he was only about money, and he was all about money. Yeah, it's his job. He's trying to be compensated the way he should be compensated.
Sure.
And
which I would want to do, and you would want to do.
Right, and everybody would want to do.
Right.
I don't want to say almost everybody would want to do.
Who wouldn't want to make the most money for, especially commensurate with other people making that money that are at your skill level or below you?
Right.
It's a natural human instinct.
Right. So he came out in that ESPN interview and very much said that, though.
Right.
He said on his Instagram, "I'm not playing for no more unguarantees." He was going to get guaranteed money. He was only going to play for guaranteed money. And he said in that ESPN interview, like, I don't need football. I want football, but I don't need it. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a millionaire. Like, I'm trying to set myself up here to make as much money as humanly possible. Like, he said all that.
Right. And by the way, not a perfect.
I think that was part of why teams weren't knocking the Steelers' door down to trade a first-round pick for him.
And it's not like he was a perfect citizen out there either. He certainly made some mistakes.
Sure.
We're not completely defending that. But in this situation, he's got to take care of himself. Right. This made me, as we'll wrap this break up, this made me go down a rabbit hole that I hadn't prepared to go down. So, yeah, this was bad. Are you familiar with Rooney Mara?
Yes.
Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah.
Actress, right?
Yeah, she was the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Do you know why her first name is Rooney?
Because her parents were huge Steeler fans.
Almost. Well, technically correct. Her first name is actually Patricia. Her name is Patricia Rooney Mara.
Okay.
Because her mother is the daughter of the founders of the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
Her father, the son or grandson of the founders of
Terry Bradshaw.
of the Giants.
Oh.
She not only comes from the Royal Mara family in the NFL circles, she comes from the Royal Rooney family.
Wow.
That's her mom and her dad, of which you go through her family tree, congressmen, player personnel evaluators on both sides. And I find myself, so she dropped Patricia and took her mother's maiden name as her first name. That's why she, her sister Kate Mara is also an actress as well.
As the famed Kate family.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
So I find myself wondering, who do these kids root for growing up? Are they Steeler fans or Giants fans?
How old is Rooney Mara?
Rooney Mara is 33.
She's a little older than me, right?
33.
So I'm guessing that it's probably the Steelers, right?
And her sister's 36. You think they root for? You think Kate and Rooney root for this? Well, she did take Rooney.
Yeah,
Rooney,
but she also has Mara,
right?
So she has both. I'm guessing just because the Steelers have missed the playoffs, like 4 times in the last 5 decades or something insane like that.
Oh, you're saying they're bandwagoners?
No.
Oh, okay.
But if you're picking a team growing up when you're 5,
right,
and you just constantly see the Steelers playing in these big games.
Bet you they didn't go to public school. Just a guess. I don't know. Bet they didn't go to public school.
Did you fall down that rabbit hole too?
No, but the other rabbit hole I fell down is, would you like to know who, I'm sure you don't, but just deal with it.
I'm going to find out.
Since 2016, do you know who Rooney Mara's partner has been?
No.
Significant other. Joaquin Phoenix.
Right? I thought Joaquin Phoenix was dating his Siri.
He is not. So now I really want to know who Joaquin Phoenix roots for.
What was the last movie Spike Jonze made?
I have no idea. Why?
He made that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
And I can't remember the last thing he's put out since then.
Now we're all over the place. Way to get off subject, Kyle. We had a whole.
Yeah, that's my fault. That's all on me.
Bob Melvin is the manager of the Oakland Athletics. He joins us every year in one of my favorite interviews we get to do. It's always fun to catch up with the skipper. He's going to join us at 8:40. Scott Bair, NBC Sports California, will join us at 8:05, and we'll break down the Raiders' moves.
7:35.
What'd I say, 8:05?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Scott Bair's at 7:35.
I apologize. You're correct. 7:35. Not only will we talk, obviously, about Antonio Brown, but Kelechi Osemele goes to the Jets. And the Raiders sign a brand new defensive tackle. He's not brand new, but brand new to the Raiders. So we'll get to all that when we come back. We have just a smorgasbord of stuff for you in this next segment. Kyle, we're going to talk about the Kings in D.C. tonight, what the Spurs did last night, and the biggest upset of the NBA season happened yesterday, and I'll bet you're familiar with who played in that game. We'll all talk about that next, right here on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK. I got to be honest, doing this commercial today, normally I'm super stoked to do Fire Wing spots. I'm always happy, as you guys know, to talk about Fire Wings because we do truly love the 21 different flavors they have. We love the Malaysian curry, the breaded Malaysian curry, I should say, the dragon wings, the Peking, the peanut butter wings, even best wing in Sacramento 3 years in a row. We love talking about the 21 different locations. What I don't love talking about is that we're in Arizona. And there's a Kings game tonight, and we're going to go out and we're going to watch it. And you know where I'd love to go watch it at? Fire Wings. You know what I can't do? I can't go to a Fire Wings. Why? They're not in Arizona. They're not in Phoenix. Now, I'm fine with that because I need them to focus as they are on opening the Antelope location, which will actually be a family holiday for me when that happens. And I keep hearing it's closer and closer and closer. Now, hey, March Madness is coming up in a couple weeks. I'll tell you right this second, if you're looking for a place to watch the two greatest days in sports of the entire year, great place to watch it, Fire Wings. Wings, cold beer, you can get poke at many of the locations. They got that Coca-Cola machine where you have like the 100 different mixtures you can do. It's just a fine place to watch sports and eat some wings. Bone in, boneless. The reason why they're so juicy. Why, you ask? Well, you didn't ask. I'm going to tell you because they're soaked in buttermilk overnight. Go to firewings.com. Find the location nearest you. And you tell me your good buddy Carmichael Dave sent ya.
Now you can watch the guys on your computer or mobile device. Just go to KHTK.com and check the archives on the KHTK YouTube channel. Now, back to The Drive.
I was just checking the live stream brought to you by Jiffy Lube, who's also bringing us down here to Mesa, Arizona. Oakland A's spring training. We will have Bob Melvin on at 8:40. Man, that stream looks great. You can go to KHTK.com, watch it, and sun's starting to come up.
It's really nice.
Right behind us.
Really nice.
You got the media guide in your hand. You're a happy guy.
Oh, sorry. You just caught me reading the A's media guide.
See? Look at that.
I like to stay well prepared. Dave, did you know
Did I know?
that
Odds are I didn't.
Andrew Triggs is 9-8 with a 4.53 ERA in 45 games? in his
Weirdly,
career?
I did.
27 starts.
How about that? Of course, KHTK will have, I don't have the exact number yet. I guess we can go look, but probably about 155, somewhere in there,
It's gonna
50
be a
to
lot of
55 of the 162 regular season A's games this season. The only time an A's game will not be on KHTK is if there's a Kings game on. That's it. That's the only time. And I don't think there's that many conflicts. So you're going to have A's baseball all summer long. We're always very happy to be down here. Now, I make no secret of the fact that I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Will Clark is my favorite baseball player of all time. I bleed orange and black. However, and I've said this every year, the A's are a phenomenal organization. They are so nice. They're so proactive.
Yeah.
They are truly appreciative of their fans and of the media that covers them. Not that the Giants aren't, but it's a different vibe with the A's. The Giants don't need to be that way, and I mean that in the most respectful way to the A's.
Sure.
The Giants kind of are like, guys, 3 rings and 10. We're the Giants. We're the big brother. If you want to show up, the A's are like, thank you. You're awesome. What can we do to help and make you feel comfortable? What kind of players can we get you? What do the fans want? And I truly love that about them. It's hard not to root for them.
It always stinks when you like meet somebody who works for one of your favorite teams or a player or something like that, and they're just kind of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're
and again, the Giants. I don't want to. The Giants aren't jerks.
I'm not saying that. I'm getting somewhere else. This has nothing to do with the Giants.
Everything has to do with the Giants.
No. So I'm talking about the team that made the playoffs last year.
Wow.
So
sick burn.
The A's are my favorite team. I'm born and raised an A's fan.
Yes.
And to get to deal with them and work with them and have them be as awesome as they are, it was just really cool because it would stink if they were like if they just stunk, like if they were just a bunch of bad people.
Whatever.
Then I had to go root for him.
Yeah, show up if you want.
Yeah.
We don't care. The Sacramento Kings showed up to the Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in all the land. The most famous garden, certainly. I would say.
Oh, no, it's not.
Really? Okay, so you got Marvin Gardens from Monopoly, Garden of Eden.
Isn't there the
Probably more famous.
Isn't there a garden that's one of the 7 wonders of the world?
If there is, I don't know it. Really? A garden?
Yeah.
Like a vegetable garden? Like Bill's Vegetable Garden in Iowa is the 7th wonder of the world.
No, it's no.
Okay, it's a pretty famous arena. All right, the Kings showed up. They were down 30-23 after the first quarter.
The Hanging Garden.
The Hanging Garden's a wonder.
Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Never heard of it. Who cares? Babylon, overrated. 102-94 was the final.
Wow.
102-94 was the final. How about De'Aaron Fox showing out in New York City? 30 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. That's the type of game. I like him finishing up that. It seems like De'Aaron Fox has been very streaky with his scoring and his shooting this year, but you look at it in the end, and he's put together such a wonderful season. Going to be in line for he won't get most improved player, but he'll certainly get some votes there. It was a win the Kings had to have, and they got it despite being outscored 26-22 in the fourth quarter. They now move on to take on the Washington Wizards today. Yet again, these are all must-wins at this point. They're going to, this just in, they will not, Kyle, I'm predicting this, they will not finish the year winning 18 in a row. That's not going to happen.
Wow.
I'm predicting it right now.
Captain Pessimism once again.
Mm-hmm. Not winning.
Not thinking the Kings can win 18 in a row to finish the season. That's unbelievable.
Can I tell you a stat that scares me though? Again, going into Washington tonight, they play in the Eastern Conference, so they already play in a worse conference than the Kings. They are 27-39. That is far worse of a record than your Sacramento Kings. But here's what scares me: they actually have a better home record than the Kings. They're 19-12. The Kings do have they're 20-14, but by percentage, why? In other words, they're no slouches at home. You just have to hope it's one of those times where the Wizards just come out to an early lead, step on their neck, be done.
Yeah, you have to.
Don't keep it close.
Yeah. The Wizards have enough talent. Like, Bradley Beal is a really good player. I think he's like a 25-5-5 guy this year. He's really good. Bobby Portis is a talented player, but yeah, I think they're one of those teams where if you come out and you just win the first quarter by 12 points, I think you're set.
The Wizards won 3 of 4 at home, but they have been playing a lot of road games. This will actually be their first home game back. First home game they've played since March 6th, so a little under a week after a little mini road trip to Charlotte and Minnesota. KHTK will have all your coverage pregame at 3:30 and tip-off at 4 o'clock. Grant and Doug will be on the phone call. When we get back, we'll reset some stuff down here. Also, the Republican action, they opened their season at home at Papa Murphy's Park over the weekend. We'll let you know what that score was. And again, the biggest upset of the year happened in the NBA. We'll talk a little bit about that and what one of the stars of the team that was upset said, calling out their fans. Also, speaking of the Kings and Knicks owner James Dolan in the news for once again bullying fans. We'll talk about that next. Sports 1140 KHTK. Carmichael Dave here from my good friends over at Hoblet Ram. My Hoblet Ram took not just me, but Kyle to the airport. We're sitting in the parking lot. I hope it's okay. I don't need to hope it's okay. It's a Hoblet Ram. It scares other cars and other people. Nobody's going to touch it. Absolutely not. What do I say? Monster truck on the outside. Luxury car on the inside. And oh so fun, let me tell you, to drive around when it's been rainy and crummy outside. Right now, it's March, which means it's Ram Truck Month. 19 grand off select new Ram trucks. 1,500 vehicles in stock. 1,200 of them are Ram trucks. Think about that. 1,200 Ram trucks on one lot. That's a lot of Rams. That's why they're the number one Ram truck dealer in all of California, the only Ram truck center in the Sacramento Valley. No hassle, no pressure, ever, and just 7 minutes from the airport, right there in Woodland. the J.D. Powers Customer First Award winners for excellence. It's very simple. Go to HoblettDodge.com, find the truck you want, and you tell them up there your good buddy Carmichael Dave sent you.